Oh no!
Awesome.
Mind my business!
Fail.
Mind my business.
Oh yeah.
Mind my business. Hey, and good morning. This is the first edition or the first episode of Mind My Business. It's our new opinion podcast hosted by me. I'm Max, the co-founder and CEO of Hype 1000. For those that don't know Hype 1000, we're a corporate audio startup, and in this opinion podcast, we're going to take 10 minutes in the morning to discuss things that we see, that we find interesting within our organization, and I have the honor to host this event. And I want to start, and what we're going to do is scroll down through our LinkedIn timeline to see, what's interesting at the moment, things that we see, articles that are written, and I stumbled upon something interesting, and I thought that could be something cool to kick it off with, because it was a topic that was really big in 2021, and that was social audio. And as you all know, social audio had this big hype, this big buzz around the beginning of 2021, mainly via Clubhouse, and everybody knows Clubhouse, and who's interested in social audio or audio in general. Everybody wanted to get an invite to this cool new app where you could chat and talk via audio with like celebrities, and you would have the chance to get in touch with the people that you admire in the business world or in any other field, and that was kind of like the big thing, discussing movies with Quentin Tarantino, or being in a panel discussion with Oprah, or whatever. And that was the big buzz, and it kind of died down after a few months, and it got really quiet around that topic. But what stayed was that, for example, Spotify bought a company called Locker Room, turned it into Green Room, and now I think they're calling it Spotify Live, and they're going to integrate it into their app, so they're going to have a live feature as well. Twitter started something, a live audio feature, and LinkedIn as well. And so I was going through my LinkedIn timeline this morning, and I saw from Christian Bisa, and some people know him. He's, I think, product owner, or he works in product at LinkedIn, and he also is a co-founder of Crypto Hunt, and he also is a co-founder of the German digital company OMR, Online Marketing Rockstars, which are quite popular, big in the audio industry in Germany, like a digital media company. Hosting a big event that's going to happen in May as well. And so I saw his post this morning, and some of you have seen it in the past, the live audio feature, the audio events by LinkedIn. And I was kind of wondering what's going to happen. And they offered now, a new feature. It's called live captions in audio events. So you can, and as I understood correctly, and if you want to find out, just look for the event, listen up, let's celebrate live captions in audio events. They're going to explain what they've been dabbling around with for the past few months. But as I understood, they will integrate captions that you can turn on and off and get a better experience. If you, for example, might not be as familiar with the language they're speaking in, or these kinds of stuff. At least that's what I'm getting from it. And I thought, it's quite interesting that LinkedIn is still working on live audio, because from Clubhouse, and they, collected a lot of money. We haven't heard anything from them in the past, or at least not really in my proximity. I haven't seen anything coming from them at the moment. But you get those constant updates from LinkedIn every now and then. They're still working on it, and so I wanted to take that topic and think a little bit about, or share my opinion on what I think about live audio, because overall, I think social audio is a super cool feature. It's really interesting to give people the opportunity to have a discussion, and for people that might have some stage fright, or um, overall reducing cost, needing lesser resources, because you can just use your phone and you don't need any makeup or lighting, that I could have used now, because it's the first time I'm recording a video podcast. You can also, of course, just hear it as an audio file, but I'm trying something new as well, and it's a lot more effort to produce a video. Doing live video, having Teams meetings, Zoom meetings, and I think over the past few years, during the pandemic, during COVID, everybody got kind of tired of all those live events. So much screen time, and all those events that were happening in the past 2 years. Was quite interesting to see that they said, like, oh, now afterwards, so you weren't able to attend the meeting, and it was a panel discussion, and they had this big production with high quality camera teams and everything, and they said, like, afterwards you can you can check out all the content in the library, and or in our media library that we created. And personally, it felt like, and all the people that I talked to, it felt like it was just a graveyard of content that nobody would go back to and see it, or watch it, because it wasn't a great user experience. But they would, if they had an option for an audio tool, they would go back and use that. So, having that in mind, live audio can surface a really interesting purpose. For example, you can just quickly join in. That's the first part, and I think it's really interesting, to have this, like, more informal discussions where you can just quickly jump on the topic and say, like, hey, I have this idea, let's share ideas, and you get people on board and you can discuss. I think that could be really interesting in a business context, and then using that audio file, if you want to, because having an option to record it, you could use that then later on as a podcast that you can go back to and listen to if you want to. So that's from a business perspective, and I think one of the reasons why Clubhouse kind of, or at least in Germany, died down really, really quickly, because it was just another channel. And yeah, LinkedIn, you might want to watch out for that. It was just, the same people with the same topics, just using a different format. And so it was just partly something new, and it was just partly something that you would enjoy for a longer time, because it would not bring that much added value to join those rooms, to be in those discussions, because people were testing out, and then again, you could read it, you could see their videos, you could hear their podcast, and it was always the same people, always the same topics. And then they would just do it in a live version, in a more informal discussion. And then, of course, the quality died down a little bit, because, that is the downside of having those informal meetings and being, quickly to get into a discussion. And you might know that as well as I am. As well as I know that, is that you get into a discussion with friends, and every now and then the quality of that discussion isn't as great as you expect, and maybe if you would, or you think of it as a cool discussion at the moment, but you don't have all the pieces together, and then you get back to, if you had the chance to listen to it, and go back to it later on, you might say, well, it was a good discussion, or it was an okay discussion at the moment, but did we really bring that much value in the long run, or for other people to it? Maybe not. And so that's always a tricky part about live audio and those more informal meetings. But overall, social audio is really interesting, in my opinion, if it serves, for example, a different purpose. I think it could be really interesting to test new formats, to test new audiences, and then we're moving out of the business context, and I think it could be really, really interesting to have music, like you want to listen to concerts. So that's why I think it makes it really interesting, to Spotify. and they were doing all those deals with like NFL or NBA players. I don't know, and but I think it could be because of the low latency, and you can actually bring live experience to people. Um, for example, you can go on an event and just listen to the audio file, or to a live audio session where some musicians is sharing new songs, or you can jump into those recording sessions that they are sharing, and you get like uh, in combination with the subscription, you get like really intimate moments with your musicians that you really like, that you follow, and get a whole new experience. And it's super easy to set up again. So I think that could be something really interesting to stretch into the music industry, and test out those kind of like recording sessions, joining in live audio sessions where musicians test out something, or due to low latency, and that you can also do collaborations. So it could be really interesting to see, let's dream big. So Ed Sheeran and, I don't know, Ariana Grande come together, on their social or Spotify live feature, and just do like a short, quick session together, and you don't have to like overproduce it. You can really radically reduce costs for the production teams, and still, I think, deliver a really cool experience to the people. So that could be one thing. And I think another thing that I thought was really interesting is the idea of humor comedy, stand-up comedy, to use that, because I always think of what could work without video, and of course comedy programs. I listen to a lot of comedy programs on Spotify, so I thought that could be really interesting, that you can again join in and get a live set, or get a raw version, maybe, or an early set that hasn't been released, that some of the stand-ups tested out beforehand. And again, with the subscription feature, you can really build an audience, and again, that could also help Spotify to interact more with their artists that are on the platform, because there's always that discussion, Spotify, well, it's inevitable to be on there, but it's not as great because I'm not making a lot of money, and Spotify is making all that money, and then I need like Patreon, or I need Discord or whatever to build my community. And then I always have that break between those different channels. So having that and being able to engage more with the audience through Spotify, I think that would be super beneficial, and it could really boost your standing as a platform with artists on your platform, and also with the audience, because um, the experience on Spotify, in my opinion, is not always as great as you might expect it from a company being that big. So those are two really interesting aspects that I see that could be interesting. So again, coming back to what LinkedIn is doing, I think it's interesting that they continuously working on that live audio feature. I think it's really cool that they stay on it. I believe it's coming back. And so to wrap it up and bring it back to LinkedIn, I think something really interesting, um, and that taps into a topic that I discussed very often with my co-founder Simon, is how to build communities. And LinkedIn, they have been, I would say, not really really strong on building like communities and groups, like small groups, interest groups, like Facebook has done that after they kind of like died down in their overall idea, and just pushed groups, because that could be your space to discuss. And the rise of Discord and all those apps, I think building a strong community is really important, and LinkedIn could benefit using the idea of building small but very focused audiences on specific topics, because it's so easy in a business environment to find like-minded people that want to work on a very niche problem, because that's your business context, and it will eventually help you um, you know progress in your career faster if you have like a kind of like a group of people, a peer group or a mentor group, where you peer-to-peer mentor each other on different ideas, and bringing that into the LinkedIn community could be really interesting. And then do it in a closed off environment, and then using audio where on a Monday night, like 5 or 6 different engineers in the same kind of area that work on a bigger problem. I don't know, it's whatever it is, like coding on a pipeline or whatever it is. They can get into a live discussion really quickly, in a secure room, and not thinking, okay, this could leak anywhere, and we're in a room where it's secure. Also, even being in a higher position to ask questions that you might be afraid of asking, because you feel like, okay, in quotes, the boss, and I need to know all this. And that's why people getting big consultancies paying a lot of money, because they can help you, and they get the chance to be the smart ones, and you can ask them questions. But overall, as a leader, you might be afraid to ask questions. But in that secure, closed off environment, with your peers, you might be able to do that. So making social audio a bit more niche, I think, could be something really interesting to explore, and that can then bring social audio back maybe in the next year, after that kind of got burned in the general perception, and could be something still really interesting. And I'm looking forward to what's coming in the field of social audio. So yeah, that's my opinion on that topic. There's a lot more on social audio, and it will come back in different episodes, I guess. If you have a different opinion, or if you don't agree, feel free to reach out. We have an email address. It's called mindmybusiness@hype1000.de. We're looking forward to that, or you can connect on LinkedIn. I'm happy. Just type in Maximilian Conrad. You can find me on LinkedIn. Really excited. It was the first episode. I hope you liked it. It was quite fun. It was a new experience, just talking by myself for now 70 minutes. But yeah, maybe you could take some ideas with you. And yeah, looking forward to the coming episodes. And yeah, take care.
Why don't you mind your business?